The PC gave us computing power at home, the internet connected us, and mobile let us do it pretty much anywhere. Now generative AI lets us communicate with technology in our own language using our own senses. But figuring it all out when you're living through it is a totally different story. Welcome to Leading the Shift, a new podcast from Microsoft Azure. I'm your host, Susan Ettlinger. In each episode, leaders will share what they're learning to help you navigate all this change with confidence. Please join us. Listen and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, episode 25, interview with Renato dos Anjos. Welcome to the Animation Addicts podcast with the Rotoscopers, Disney, DreamWorks, Pixar, Don Bluth, and everything in between. I'm Chelsea Robson. And I'm Morgan Stradling. So for our interview today, we are speaking with Renato dos Anjos. And for you guys who don't know, he is the animation supervisor for Disney over the project Wreck-It Ralph. In case you don't know about what Wreck-It Ralph is Disney's 50-second feature-length animated film, and it's about a video game character named Ralph, and his job is to wreck things. He is the bad guy in kind of this little 1980s video game, and he decides that he doesn't want to be a bad guy anymore, and so he goes on this adventure and starts jumping into other video games and tries to be a hero. So we actually had the opportunity to go to the test screening, and so we gave our thoughts in episode 10, so you can go check that out if you want our 6-month-old spoiler-free review of Wreck-It Ralph. But yeah, so this time we got to speak with the animation supervisor and talk about his thoughts on the film, what it was like working for Disney. He's worked for Disney for a few years, and just the whole process. Yeah, and in preparation for this interview, I got to email him back and forth just a little bit to find out different things. And, you know, the first time I read his name, I'm so used to reading in Spanish here in Arizona, but I read it and I was like, wait a second. That's not Spanish. That's Portuguese. But yeah, he has an amazing story. Just how he started out in Brazil and just how he worked his way up to one of the greatest studios in the world. So now he's big man on campus over there and just doing some great things. We're excited for this episode. For any more information about this episode, you can head on over to therotoscopers.com/25. And you'll be able to get all the show notes and a few links to different projects that we've done about Wreck-It Ralph. And also, to find us individually, you can look at Morgan Stradling on Twitter. You can also find me, Chelsea Robson, at Twitter and on Facebook, facebook.com/This is Chelsea Robson. Mason, our third host, you can find him at thisanimatedlife.blogspot.com. Enjoy the interview, guys.
Hey, you moved my stump. I'm gonna wreck it. I can fix it.
Hello.
Hello, is this Renato?
Yeah, this is Renato.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you? Is this Morgan or?
This is Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
And this is Morgan.
Hi. Oh, so I'm speaking with the two of you. That's awesome.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. Oh, thanks so much for calling and everything.
No, we're excited. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. I'm very, very excited to talk to you guys.
Well, once again, guys, welcome to the Animation Addicts podcast. I'm Chelsea Robson. And I'm Morgan Stradling. And today we're so excited to be able to interview Renato dos Anjos, or in English. How do they say it in English?
Oh, well, it kind of goes something like Renato dos Anjos, but it's Anjos, which is, translating to of angels, coming from a Catholic country. That's what I got. So I'm originally from São Paulo, Brazil. I born in 1972, and I lived in Brazil until 1997, when then I moved to the United States, to work with feature animation shows. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So you are at Walt Disney Animation.
Uh-huh.
And your most recent project is Wreck-It Ralph, which there is so much buzz about this movie. everyone's really exciting. So I'm sure on your end at Disney, everyone's excited that everyone else is excited. So just tell us your background, how you got into animation. And I've seen that you've worked for different studios over the year, from Don Bluth to Sony. And so just tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll ask you more about Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I used to draw a lot as a little kid, and I always thought I was going to end up doing comic books. Funny enough, one of my little comics, I actually still have one at home. I was really young, maybe, 12 or so when I did that. It was about game character that I used to play a lot on the Atari. And that was one of my first things that I ever did, that I put together that had a beginning and an end to it. So I always thought I was going to end up, working with comic books. But luckily enough, one of our family friends was an animator that was back in 1987. And he helped me a lot with my drawings, and, kind of once in a while he'd come by and give me some feedback. And then eventually, at some point, he took my drawings over to the studio, and then I got a training. I got into the training program at that specific studio, and that's how I started. Did that training program for about 6 months or so, and that's how I've ever. Since then I've only been working with animation, and I really felt in love with it, and it's been great, and it's one of the things that's so amazing about this media is the people that you meet. And to be frank, like every single job opportunity I had since my very first job was through friendships, through people that I knew, that kind of knew my work, that kind of called me over. It's been an amazing experience to date. It's just been really, really great. So I did try to get into Disney when I was living in Brazil, but they came by at one point with like a group of people, and they look at portfolios and stuff like that. But I didn't really work out. I think I wasn't really good enough for them to hire me at that point. And it took me many, many years to get to a level that, I was able to kind of come here and work at the studio. So it's been a great, great experience. But yeah, that's sort of like, the overall picture of how I started working with animation.
So Renato is the animation supervisor at Walt Disney Animation Studios for Wreck-It Ralph. And this is the head honcho who's over all the supervising animators. Anything that's about animation, it goes through him. Yeah. So tell us about how you kind of got started with Wreck-It Ralph, what stage of the process you entered in, maybe if you've been with it since the beginning or came in middle, and then what your role is.
Uh-huh. Well, it's funny, like we've got two titles. One is animation supervisor, which is kind of like a head of animation. That's what I did. And there are supervising animators, which are the people that work. We had about 5 of them working on the show. They had sequences, and they were working with the crew on the floor and stuff like that. So it's a little, the names are very similar. One is animation supervisor, the other one is supervising animators. So I was the animation supervisor on the show. I actually, the whole thing started for me when they have this really cool thing here at the studio. They once a year or so, they open. Every director kind of shows what they're working on for the entire crew, so people know what's happening, what's coming, what we're going to be working in the future. And I went to this one room, and Rich was pitching the idea for the show, and I love games, I've always played games since I was a kid, and the premise for the show seemed so appealing to me. By the end of the presentation, I was sure I needed to work on the show no matter what. I didn't really care about what capacity, just needed to work on the show. That was very early on. They didn't really have any reels up yet. They haven't really had any screenings. It was pretty much just like a pitch over beat boards. But, Rich, he's really entertaining, just kind of listening to him. He's very funny, and the way he pitched the whole idea was really, really cool, and I really fell in love with it at that one point. And I was lucky enough to kind of get this opportunity to work as the animation supervisor on the show, which is amazing. I'm very grateful for that. Dave and working with everybody on the show has been great. The great thing about this place, about Disney, is that all those positions are open. when a show needs a supervisor, they post a job opening, and then everybody kind of applies for the job. Whoever wants to do the job applies for the job, and then, go through the process of interviewing with the director, and then you talk about the things that you like about, about what the project is, and, and see if there's anything there. And then I was lucky enough that Rich felt like I was the right guy to do the job for him. So, obviously I own him a lot, and I'm really grateful for the opportunity. If I had to pick a project to do this job, which was a really hard job, it would have been this one, because I absolutely love the characters. I love the premise of the show. It's been great, ever since I started, and I started really early on the show. Like I said, that process kind of happened really early on. And personally, it was the first opportunity I had to affect so many different aspects of a production, just by being there early enough. Mike Gabriel, one of the art directors, and Ian, kind of, they let me help doing some viz dev work, which was awesome, so I did a lot of drawings at the beginning of the show when we didn't have any animation kind of going at that point, so I loved doing that, so that was great. When animation was about to kind of get into gear, we worked with the modelers and the riggers and then the character designers to kind of make sure everything kind of worked for animation and stuff like that. So overall, I feel like my contribution on the show was the biggest I had the opportunity to do so on a project, and I'm really, really happy about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, the first time that we came in contact with this project was at the test screening. So, what does it take for you guys on your guys' side to get ready for something like that?
Well, actually, to tell the truth, actually, we heard your podcast here at the animators, kind of someone sent out the link, and we thought it was really, really cool and cute and everything. So really appreciate you kind of putting the piece out there. I think everybody, here kind of had an opportunity to kind of listen to everything. It was awesome. I liked it a lot. I thought it was really genuine. Yeah, and when we do the test screenings, basically what we're looking for are trends, things that were working, things that could be improved. A lot of times the directors, they'll go into the screenings looking for certain specific feedback on very specific things, and they kind of gear the questions towards that. I haven't had an opportunity to be in one of those yet, so I'm not sure exactly how those screenings run, but that's my understanding, that the goal is just to get a feeling for the things that are working on the story and the things that they need to kind of tweak and improve. For us to kind of, every time there's a screening like that, everybody production, they look into what's happening on the floor, and they want to get as many things into that screening as possible. So we often have to do a little extra push, like we do, we ask some people to work on overtime on a shot or in a specific sequence of shots that we need done for the screening. So when the director feels like that's the best representation of his vision. So it's a mix, it's those things happen kind of early. I'm not sure how much footage was animated by when you guys saw it, but I imagine probably 30-40%, something like that. Yeah. So
I was kind of shocked based that it was 6 months away.
Yeah, I know. We were shocked too. Yeah, we had a lot left to do, at that point. But the thing is, it's really everything that we do here, it's to support the vision of the directors, and so if they have a screening, for instance, that they need a certain aspect of it to be a little more worked out, the producers and, they normally meet with the leadership of the show, and they go over what the director needs, and we kind of plan on kind of meeting those needs, whatever needs to happen. If there's something that's not that we can't accomplish, we'll let them know. But for the most part, they're very, we are able to kind of accommodate whatever they need, because we do want the screenings to be successful. We do want the director to get whatever information he needs. So in general, we will do whatever we need to do to support their needs.
So what were some of the technical achievements or animation achievements in Wreck-It Ralph? It seems every film that comes out, there's always something that's pushing technology or animation in a way. Was there anything in Wreck-It Ralph that did that?
Yeah, we've seen, it's a very complex, very difficult show. I'm sure you guys saw, like how Ralph travels from one world onto another, and, when Rich talked to the group, he really he has a really specific idea about each individual world, how he wants the animation to play. And it's, because the style of animation changed from one world onto another, that was rather complicated for us for animation, because when I like to use examples of things that we've done in the past, like for instance on Bolt, and Tangled, we work on those projects, and after many months into it, everybody kind of understands what the style of animation is. How do you move, an eyelash, and how what the director wants for the look of the character. The poses. How fluid is the animation. Because we're having to bounce around so much from one style to another, we never really kind of had an opportunity to feel like, okay, we got this thing, let's just finish. We're always kind of having to learn something new. Even up to the last few shots that we had left in production, people were like, oh, this is my first time animating Vanellope, and we had to kind of teach people, oh, this is how we animate her, these are the controls that you use, and that was really late in the game. That added a lot of complexity to the process, because we always felt like we needed to educate the crew and make sure everybody knew how these characters moved, and make sure everything was felt cohesive. It took a lot of planning and trial and error. Sometimes there was a few instances where we tried things that didn't quite work, but besides that, one thing that we really wanted to do, actually our rigging department helped us a ton. That was a problem that we had in the past, was just kind of getting the design to be a little more solid when we're animating the characters. CG tends to make things a little mushy sometimes. And with Ralph, he's all about angles, and just really kind of strong, iconic poses. So we really wanted to be able to animate and not have to worry so much about the design getting corrupted when you're moving him around, and he's a very difficult design, to move around, because he's, all his parts, his hands are huge, his legs are kind of short, his torso is pretty long, and, everything about him is somewhat challenging, because when you're, it's kind of like you're playing with a puppet inside a computer, and when the masses are really close together or too big, they're just complicated. They're just difficult to move around and create appealing shapes and poses. So they've really worked really hard on kind of fixing some of the problems that we had in the past, as far as keeping the appeal of the character, so we didn't have to struggle so much in animation, with the design. So they did a great job of that. So that was a huge accomplishment, I feel, for rigging and for the modeling department. And yeah, as far as animation goes, we are always pushing ourselves. If there's anything that could be better in the shot, we're gonna do it no matter what. It's a pretty vicious kind of cycle, because I could be done. An animator could be done with a shot, and if someone gives an idea that we improve that shot, there's no way we're going to say no. We're always going to try to make the best thing we can, because we want people to love the characters. And I know, I grew up watching animation, and I know these things, they kind of change you, in many ways, because, you grew up thinking about these characters. I'll play, as being some of them, I love Pinocchio, I love many of the Disney classics, but it's just, these things they really stick to you, and they really change you. And so we do keep that in mind when we're animating our show. So if, there's nothing we won't do to we'll do anything we need to make sure things are as good as it can be, no matter how late in the game an idea comes around, And Rich was always supportive of that, so was the production people, Our producers, they were always, very supportive of the ideas that we had. If there was a shot that we felt like needed more time, to make it as good as it needed to be, they were very supportive and let us kind of work on the shot for a little longer and stuff like that. But it was a tight schedule, like all schedules are. But because the movie was so big, it really made it difficult. I don't know. Does that kind of cover your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay. And one thing that, like I forgot to mention, I'm sure you've heard in different places, but the amount of characters on the show alone was so much bigger than any other show that we've done here.
Yeah.
We had about, I think, 188 characters, in comparing to Tango, I think, had about 63 or something like that. And getting all those characters ready, make sure they all look good, and that was, it was tough. Like, it's the hardest movie I've ever worked on, but the most rewarding project I've ever worked on, because I really love the characters, like I said, and also being able to play with these really iconic characters that you grew up with, like Bowser and Sonic and, all those guys. I mean, they're just, I don't know when I'm going to get an opportunity to work on something like that again, hopefully they will make many sequels, but, it's insane, like I was pretty lucky, I think we're a very lucky group to have an opportunity to work with on the project, create these characters and also have an opportunity to work with characters that you love, that was amazing.
I've noticed especially with Wreck-It Ralph for sure, it's set kind of like a different pace for animation and for storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So what is Disney's goal these days for, staying at the top of their game?
Well, as a studio, we've been, there's a lot of things that since I got here on Bolt, that was the first project I did working at Disney, and a lot of changes have been happening ever since I got here. All of it has been the goal is to support the creative, and I've never worked myself at a studio, and I've been to different places, and I loved every one of them. It's been great, I always had great opportunities, but Disney has been, as far as being a creative person, has been the best place I've ever been, and it's been, I think the overall goal for the studio is to be very supportive of the creative, like I said, but with that, we want to make sure our stories are as great as they can be, that our characters are as appealing as they can be, and I think every single department is really working hard on making sure they are doing excellent work. I don't know, as far as thinking where we're going from here, it's hard to tell because we're pushing each other so often and so hard on trying to make better things that it's really hard to kind of put my finger of where this place is going with their stories and with their movies. I don't think we're going to be doing anything specifically like any type of movie like over and over. I think it's really up to the directors, whatever, if there's a great story that they want to tell, and John Lasseter and Ed Catmull believe in it, and the studio believes in it, I'm sure they will support it. I think I can tell you for sure, the lineup of movies that we have right now, they're great. There's nothing there that's similar to each other. They're all very different. Just working this close to the directors, you see there's a great vibe. We always tell upstairs because, they're on the third floor, the directors and the board artists. There's an awesome vibe up there. It's very kind of vibrant. They're always, there's a search for great ideas, and same thing on our floor, animation and lighting and rigging. Everyone is really trying to kind of do the best work they can. We've been opening our doors to the community. I think we had a first open house last year where we invited people over just to come by and see what we're doing here. I think if you compare Disney of today from Disney that a few years back, it's a very different place. It's much more open. We do want to do the best work we can, but we also want to help the community. We want to be a big part of it. And as far as a group, obviously I think this is the strongest animation group I ever worked with, and there's zero egos on the floor, which is amazing. Like our best animators are so kind. If you ever need help on your shot, they'll stop what they're doing. They'll go to your desk and they'll spend however many hours they need to kind of make sure you're taken care of. It's a great place to be. Like I said, I've never been at a studio that's so focused on to the artists, the quality of the work so much as Disney is today. And I'm, really happy to be here and proud of being part of the projects and everything. So, yeah. All right.
So to go back to Wreck-It Ralph just really quick, I guess before we finish up, what was your favorite part about working on this film? Maybe favorite scenes, characters? I mean, what made this different?
Oh, man, when you see the movie again, you see that, so much has changed. This movie is so great, To pinpoint things that I loved the most, I absolutely loved every time I was working with the animators, and I loved working with Rich. He's awesome as far as, kind of letting people try different things. He had a really strong vision for what he wanted, but he always encouraged everyone to try ideas. I think his background from working with Simpsons and Futurama, he has that approach of like making sure people bring their best game to the table, and that's how he worked with every department. And I felt like that was awesome. Whenever I was in dailies working with the animators and Rich, those were my favorite parts of the day. As far as, what I love the most about the show, I love Vanellope. I think Ralph and Vanellope are great, but if I had to pick one, I think she's extraordinary. Just her journey and who she is as a character. It's such an appealing story. I really fell in love with her, and I've been off production for about 3-4 weeks now, and I think that's the thing I miss the most. Just kind of seeing shots being done, these characters being created, and seeing the ideas that people are kind of bringing to each one of them. I miss that a lot. It's been a bittersweet thing, because we were working like pretty insane hours for a long period, but I kind of miss just kind of being around that process of kind of like getting these characters up on their feet, and seeing new scenes with those characters and stuff like that. So it's been, as far as an animator, being an animator, this show had a lot, it really relied a lot on what animators do. I think specifically from my personal experiences, I think animation had the biggest impact on this show than on any other show I've ever been involved with. From working with layout, from working with rigging really closely, from even helping with some of the toys, marketing, helping with posters and publicity and all that kind of stuff. I've never been this involved, and I've never seen a group as involved with a project as animation has been. So, long story short, I missed the whole, it was crazy, really short schedule, lots of things to do and lots to accomplish, but I kind of miss being in the middle of it.
So what's next for you?
Right now, I'm on downtime, and I'm avoiding eye contact with anybody that has work waiting to be done. And I'm taking December off. I'm sure I'll be helping with something between now and then, but I'm mostly, I was working on gathering all the material that's out there for Ralph, that we did, that I know I could use for presentations and stuff like that. So I've been kind of busy doing that. That's almost over because I've got everything kind of like saved and mostly put together. And then, I don't know. I've got a few weeks left between now and my vacation, so I'm, like I said, I'm trying to stay quiet, but if they need me for anything, I'm here. So
yeah, that's fun. Yeah, keep your head down from here on out.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do for now, because I'm still a little tired, but
definitely deserve it.
Yeah, but I really, I totally appreciate you guys calling. I love the piece that you guys did for Ralph again. I thought it was really cute and very genuine.
Thank you.
So yeah, it was
we
awesome.
tried to keep it spoiler free and not to, Disney hadn't revealed a lot of things, so it wasn't our place. So what we did, we we really liked what we saw, so we're really excited. We see the preview or the screening on Monday.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Whereabouts?
In Arizona.
Arizona, okay. That's
so we're excited to see where it's changed and what has gotten cut and what has been added, and just the full picture with all the the rendering and the lighting and full animation. It's going to be like really cool to be fully enveloped in the world.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear what you guys think. It's funny. Like I have the hardest time looking. Our rep party was about a week and a half ago or so. I have the hardest time kind of watching it and without thinking about, oh, this person did this shot, that person did that shot. Oh, I remember this one, this one took this long, and I can't turn that off. It's a good year before I can watch a movie and be like, okay, this is how the movie looks, and be a little more detached from the process,
Right. Yeah.
But I'd love to hear what you guys think, because it's great to hear from people with fresh eyes, because well, you guys have seen the screening already, but it'd be great to hear what you think about it, how it turned out.
Yeah, no problem. We're excited. Yeah. I know everyone else in the world is too, so that's good. Well,
it's been pretty insane, like how much people are looking forward to the movie. I'm really happy about that, obviously, but it doesn't happen very often. Like normally you're really working hard on making sure people get what you're trying to do, but this just feels so natural. It feels like the whole process of kind of getting people on board with the project has been super natural, and I guess kind of similar to how I felt when Rich pitched the idea, and I was sold. Like as soon as he was done, and actually he wasn't even done pitching the idea. I was already sold on working on it, which is awesome. So.
Yeah, it is. It also nice because, we've already seen it. And a lot of times you can go into a movie thinking, oh my gosh, there's so much hype. I hope I don't get let down. But, from what we've seen, it's going to be great. I know it.
Now, you got from the time you saw, I feel like has gotten a lot better. Story-wise, they've changed a lot of things. There'll be a lot of things there that you probably hadn't seen. But it feels better, I don't want to spoil anyone's experience, watching it. So
totally.
But yeah.
Well, we will let you know when we see it and what our thoughts are, and I can only imagine they'll be even more positive than they were before. So first off, congratulations.
So. Or else I know where Phoenix is. I know where you live.
He'll unplug us.
Yeah, I've got powers over the internet.
Yeah. But, cool. Thank you so much for letting us interview you and talk more about your career and your work on the project and everything. You've been so kind and so nice. So thank you so much.
I know it's been great talking to you guys. And, anytime you need anything, let us know. And we'll be more than happy to kind of help with whatever you need. So
awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay.
So, yeah, just, give me a shout when you guys see it.
Yeah.
Thanks, Renato. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.